All right. Yes, very excited about today's conversation with this gentleman that I get to meet, that I've had the good fortune to connect with through some of the Facebook groups that are out there. So using Facebook groups to be able to network is a powerful thing. And today on Life and Transitions Expert Podcast, we have Phillip King from King Estates Services. Here, he is a full service provider when it comes to probate, when it comes to estates. It helps you from start to finish. He'll be able to share a lot more about what he does. But if you are in the Charlotte area, if you're in the larger Mecklenburg area, or if you're in North Carolina, or if you're interested in how you can utilize services related to estate planning and state administration and all the things that come through to when it comes to personal property and real property, we're going to have a great treat for you today. So let me get out of the way and well, actually, let me just say hello again. I'm Courtney Rollins here on Facebook. Just in case you don't know, I'm the host of Life and Transitions Experts, and this is live. So if you have any questions or comments or anything like that, drop them in the chat and we'll definitely get to them. But Phillip, what's going on? How you doing, Mr. King? How's it going there?
We're doing pretty good. How are you?
Oh, I'm feeling blessed. I'm feeling great. So let us know more about exactly what you do when it comes to, I know the word estate, industry is a large industry, but what exactly, well, not exactly, what are some of the main focuses of your companies?
So what we kind of started off with is, well, I wasn't even a realtor. I started probably 30 years ago. Oh, wow. Going to estate sales, going to auctions, going to, the different events that for the sales. I would buy stuff and resell it to make pocket money. I was a paramedic for many years, and that's how I played golf, was however much money I made at the sales. And through that, I learned a whole bunch about some of the rules of estates when it comes to sales. I learned how to network with a lot of different people. So at one point, I think I had over 1,000 contacts of people who, if I find sewing machine, I know exactly who I'm calling. Oh, wow. They'll tell me all I need to know about it, and they're probably going to buy it. That sort of thing. So I built up that network of people to sell this stuff for. And kind of through a quirk, I had a neighbor who asked if I knew how to get rid of some stuff. Her and her husband were downsizing, and they were going to be moving back to Florida, going from a 2,600 square foot house to a 1,800 square foot apartment. So there's a lot of things that they just want to get rid of. And I was like, well, just put it on Facebook. People will buy it. She's 70 something years old. She's like, no. So, I said, well, listen, I'll put it out there, and you, when I sell it, I'll just bring the people over. They'll think they're dealing with me, and we'll liquidate it all for you. We liquidated her whole house in about a day and a half. Well, then she told someone who told someone, and then very shortly I got asked about doing an estate home. I was like, okay, which was new for me, but I had been to so many. And my first thought was, oh, it's got to be an auction. Well, no, it doesn't. Turns out that's a common misconception, is that the contents and things like that have to be done by auction. I found that auctions are actually very detrimental to the family. The way auctions are set up and the rules of auction, especially in North Carolina and South Carolina, depending on how the estate is set up, there are rules, and those rules can really hurt people because it's top bidder on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Whoever bids the highest for that item is going to get it. And if there's certain items that can't be bidded on because you don't have the right credentials or the right manpower to get it or whatever, that can really hurt your return. So what we started doing was assisting, if you will, executors in the liquidation of the assets of the not real property, but personal property. We had on staff our own FFL who could handle the firearms. We have a gentleman who is certified for jewelry and gold and that sort of thing. And we started putting these together. First 6 months of this, we went from 0 to 14 houses in 6 months. Oh, wow. which was great. We thought this is wonderful. Me and my father-in-law were doing it, and we're just the two of us, and it was working out great. And then the next year, I guess the word got out because we got so busy, it was we couldn't keep up.
So around what time was that the 14 houses when at the end of that year?
Would have been, let's see, this is 2023 now. So we're looking at 2018.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
So pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And so the next year, I think 24 houses. Jeez. The following year, 30 something. Last year we did 44. During COVID, we met with a lot of challenges because you couldn't do estate sales. You couldn't put a sign in the yard and liquidate things, right? And so we had to get really creative. And so what we had done was we actually created a most realtors would know what a it's leaving me the name of the Matterport. That's it, Matterport.
It can do like a 360.
Right. So we did a 360 Matterport.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Not the property, but for the estate sale. We posted it online. We had 10,000 views of that video across the country.
Oh, wow.
People calling in, texting us, and we sold it just like you had a sale, but everybody was virtual. So during this sale day, we were there. People were literally, I want this, I want that, buying it, paying us online. We put it in a box and ship it out the door. We had to have 2 vehicles that one day just to take the packages to USPS to ship them out. So that worked great. Now, post-COVID, we have seen those fans and friends and vendors that we were using before, they're coming back now. So they're not on the line, on the online version, because there's a thrill to the pick, the thrill to the going to
the drilling. Oh, wow, I can imagine.
So
dopamine.
So basically we had to hire people. We've got a staff of 9 people now, who all have some training. We've trained them all in, how to look at assets and decide, what they're worth. And if not, to know what they're worth, how to find that out, how to get that information so that we're pricing things more for the market, and getting a better return. Plus, we're sharing that sale, all the items in that sale across the country, across the world. I've sold DVDs and VCR tapes to Japan and, shipped it.
Oh, wow.
And so what we're doing is exposing those items to a greater audience, which increases the returns on those items, which goes into the estate account for that executor.
Okay.
And that's just one small piece of it. So what we're aiming to do is partner with the executor to help them through the entire process, help them understand, we don't give legal advice, but we work with them and their attorney. And if they don't have an attorney, utilize our references or referrals to our attorneys that we've used in the past to give them based on what they need, if that makes sense. Right. Partnering with them to give them the answers they need. And oftentimes our referral to that attorney, they become the attorney for the estate, and that takes that legal burden off of us. But then we all work together. So I'm talking directly to the attorney. Hey, can we do this? Can we do that? Is that allowed? Is that not allowed? And what paperwork do you need? So we help get the paperwork together, keep records, what we found, what was listed, what was donated, what was, the values of those items, which, as we all know, in an estate administration can be crucial, especially if you're buying and selling real property, because those are all tax benefits, and those tax benefits are huge. This is the one time that some of these things are allowed to be at 100%. And so by funneling those together and making them one seamless package that I can just literally hand the packet off to the executor, who hands it to the tax accountant and the lawyer.
Right.
The executor in many cases, the executor in many cases never has to come back to the property, because we're taking it from that very first conversation all the way through until it's broom swept clean and ready for its next mission, whatever that's going to be, whether it's sold or leased, that sort of thing. If they want a property, if they want to lease it out, I do property management. I kind of learned a hard lesson with the real estate because I wasn't going to get my real estate license. I was like, why should I? I mean, there's realtors for that. I had I'll give you a quick story about this. A little lady from Texas called me, and her daddy, this lady's 70 something years old. Her daddy was 96 when he died. He had a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, small home in a very impoverished part of the city, and had died 3 years prior.
Oh wow.
She had gone to the funeral. She literally left the house after the funeral, food in the fridge, locked the door, went back to Texas, and had not been able to return.
Wow.
And her family, through some quirk, ended up getting me. So we went down and checked out the property and found it. Luckily, it hadn't been squatted. It hadn't been broke into. It was exactly like she had left it. And so we did our thing. She signed our contract. She hired us to liquidate everything, got everything together. Everything's going great. So she comes to town. I found her a realtor, got her a referral. You know, I wasn't a realtor, so I can't get a referral fee, right?
Right.
And so we found her a realtor, and we all went to eat together. She flew in, I picked her up at the airport, we met with the realtor, got a timeline together. And into dinner, the realtor says, so what about the other properties? This woman had no clue that her daddy had owned quite a bit of property, including this house he lived in. He owned 4 more houses in the neighborhood that rent checks had been going into a checking account, savings account that she didn't even know about.
Wow.
He owned about $7.5 million worth of commercial real estate, which were all leased to like the Elks Club and the Lions Club and all that good stuff. And because of the way things were done back in the 1940s, when he returned from war, he bought a tract of land in this neighborhood. Well, the city gave him a 99-year lease on his land to run all the utilities. And so they had been paying their lease payments out.
Oh my goodness.
All that money was sitting there. But because that realtor did her homework,
yeah,
right, and knew and understood how estates can work, she solidified her contract. She was able to get a listing agreement on all of it.
Oh my goodness.
And I think I get a nice steak gift card every Christmas.
I bet she was excited for that referral when it kept
yeah, I kind of learned a hard lesson there. I was like, and so I went and got my real estate license. And now we do a lot of homes. Oftentimes, if I'm not the listing agent, if the person hasn't contacted me directly, I'll work with brokers from all the brokerages. It doesn't matter. I'm with EXP, but it doesn't matter. We work with any realtor wherever. It's their client and their real estate deal and our estate deal. And we work with them. Hey, do you want me to get the carpets cleaned? Do you want me to get it painted? Here's our timeline on being empty. That sort of thing. Our people can be there in place of the realtor for like services that need to be done. And
Well,
there's pretty good tax benefits by having it all done through me, because all of that becomes now 100% deductible off the estate final taxes, where the realtor might not have even known to have that done or how to do the paperwork.
Oh wow! So getting that education, let's take a step back also, just in case someone's coming up here and they're not even sure what probate or even estate administration is, which could be 2 different things, but also somebody may not know what those are. So just folks, when someone passes, especially in North Carolina, we're talking particularly, but when someone passes in the nation and they don't have the legal remedy set up, even if they have a will, but they don't have other legal remedies, their property, their deeds, their personal property, all that has to be probated. Someone has to have the legal authority to settle any debts, to distribute any inheritance, and to take care of that. So quite often when there's personal property left behind, many personal representatives and family members and loved ones and whoever's in charge aren't sure exactly what to do with the material, with the item. And there's opportunities to monetize those things at times, or it makes sense sometimes to do other things that's best for the family and for the personal representative, especially for the estate. So please, Phil, with your experience, please, can you round that out or fill that out for folks who are maybe not understanding where you come in in to be able to say, hey, let me take a look at this and help you along
Well,
the way?
the earlier in the process that I get involved, usually the better overall outcome, regardless if it's another realtor or not. I have realtors who call me, and I'll say this with a little grain of salt here. This applies to all realtors in all brokerages, not just mine, not just yours, whatever. There are real estate agents out there who they did an estate one time, and it was kind of an easy thing, and they feel that they've got the confidence and the experience to do an estate. And I have to caution some of them sometimes, because there are so many different things about probate and estate that can really throw things offline. And so part of what I'm trying to do is help the executor make the whole transition the smoothest possible by giving, advice or information or suggestions to say, to give you an example, I had a realtor not too long ago tell me that, this home doesn't have to go through probate. And I'm like, okay, yeah, based on what I know of the situation, it absolutely does have to go through probate. Right. And so they're going to go through the whole process, and it very well may close. But the problem is there's still a cloud on the title. Right. And if it ever comes back, it's going to go, you've got a nightmare of a transition. And so helping the executors and those realtors understand how those play out is critical to making sure that you have a successful project. I mean, I don't make any more money whether it's a realtor that's doing it or whether they listen to me or not. In regards to that, I don't get any referral fees back from attorneys or anything like that. I simply tell them, hey, you're looking at this maybe the wrong way. And, I don't know all the rules about it. I don't profess to. I do know that there are professionals to refer them to say, hey, you know what, I think you should, you're thinking you shouldn't, maybe you should get an answer, spend that $300 consultation with an attorney. And it turned out that when they did go to an attorney, they told them flat out, no, you can't. It stopped everything. It was already in the contract. The family was looking to move out. They were trying to get them, they wanted us to liquidate the remaining contents. And turns out the wife, who made the assumption that she inherited everything, because of the way it was structured, because of the way things happened, she was not the heir, and she was not the executor, and she didn't have the legal authority to sign a listing agreement. She didn't have the legal authority to close on it. And it was a huge nightmare, lots, tens of thousands of dollars to fix it, that she didn't have. So, anyway, it is important for any realtor or executor to understand it's not just this clean cut, easy cheesy thing. That's why there's estate administration attorneys. That is why there's documents such as wills and trust. I tell every client I know, if you have the ability to do a trust, you really, really should. That will really help a lot. So
LITE probate if you can, absolutely. So
exactly, if you can stay out of probate, because it's expensive no matter how you do it. I don't care how much money is in it or how big of an estate it is. Probate is expensive, and it usually will, that's why they don't want to take it to probate. I get it, but I mean, the alternative is just,
you try to go down the road and you try to sell this property, and it may have been transferred in your name 10, 20 years ago, but now you try to sell it, there's a cloud on the title because it wasn't properly probated 10, 15 years ago. And then you and then you have the wonderful opportunity of heirs. So
I'll tell you, a lot of executors, I've had executors hire me just to be the interface with the heirs.
Oh man.
Because they get along. So my worst example is there was 12 people to agree on everything. I mean, everything that happened, 12 people had to agree.
Each step they had to
each other's throats for the last 30 years. Wow. Hadn't spoken to each other 20, 25 years. And of course, I'm the guy that has to call them up and say,
so what is your approach, Phil?
And I'm here to
So what is your approach though? Because there are a lot of, it's one, we have someone who's just passed away. That's never really, or quite often not a, great situation. You have you have situations like that, or even less complicated, but still require some type of high emotional IQ. What is your approach to the executors or the people involved to help them connect to you, I suppose? Because I mean, you're
I
getting
want to, yeah, I have to get past the whole realtor chasing property thing.
yeah.
It's the same. I've had people when I make that first phone call and say, what I do, I've had people just, go off on me, how shameful, and I'm like, I understand maybe you have the experience of dealing with this, but there's a ton of people who don't know. And my role is to offer that bridge to help get them through that process. I don't profess to know all the answers, but like I said, I've got some experience and kind of have a general idea. I understand what might fly in Mecklenburg counties might not fly in Iredell County, for example. The rules are a little bit different in every county. And just through the experience of that, understanding, timeline, if nothing else, if it's in Union County, I can expect that we are going to be able to move forward in relatively short order. If it's in Mecklenburg County, we could be looking at years before we can move forward. I have 6 houses that are sitting in probate waiting because probate's not finished and it's not been given the clearance to sell. If the executor doesn't know this, that can lead to a lot of problems. So my approach is basically, I try to partner with them to help them understand those nuances, give them advice, point them in the right direction. The decisions are theirs to make, but I have to try to give them that knowledge to help them say, here's how you should do this. For example, I'll give you a great one. When it comes to firearms, I had a client called, it was a realtor from another agency, called me, said, hey, I've got a guy who needs his mother's estate liquidated. I called him on the phone. We talked. I went over to the house. He's in Illinois, Chicago, Illinois.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, no problem. Went over to the house. Without trying to get into too much detail, know that he had already come down and had taken possession of the firearms that were in the home and had taken them back to Illinois for safekeeping.
Okay.
Which is, I understand his logic and I understand why he did what he did. I immediately told him, I'm going to make a big recommendation to you that your next trip down, you bring them back. Let's log them in with our FFL and get them logged in and in a safe area, because here's your problem. You're in Illinois. If you get stopped with one of those weapons, it's not registered in your name. There was some law enforcement involvement with them. This person had been in law enforcement, and so turns out one of the pistols was created some legal problems for him when he got stopped with it. He called me from the jail.
Wow, called you.
And I'm like, that's part of the problem. You didn't have them properly transferred. You didn't register them. You didn't properly transfer them. You can take them. You can have them. You can, all that good stuff. But if you don't get the right paperwork in and understand what you're dealing with, because our FFL, as soon as he ran that number, that serial number, he would have found that there was a problem with it. We could have turned it in properly, kept him out of problems. But those sorts of things. So that's where our experience comes in. My job is to partner with that executor to get them through the process, and try to be the hands and feet. They decide, hey, we're gonna clean the carpets. Okay, well, we're gonna get our vendor, have them come in, do the carpets, make sure it's all done. We're going to pay the vendor. The funds come out of the estate when we settle our account. The benefit to that is that all of it becomes 100% deductible. Whereas if he just calls Joe Blow, has carpets done, if it's not done under the estate and in the paperwork, you can't take that as a deduction. So there's a lot of nuances.
I see what you're saying. So you serving as like the hub to find the vendors allows it to go through at least one, I suppose account that can be tax deductible because of
anything done in preparation of the estate, house, or property can be deductible.
And you said okay.
That's in North Carolina. That's my understanding of it. I'm not a tax person.
I
never had anybody come back and say, oh, they told me it wasn't. A good tax accountant who understands probate knows that anything done in that way. Now, it's all in how you prepare the document. So the invoice is made out to the estate of, instead of Joe Smith. that sort of thing. And then you collect them and you show that they're reasonable cost and all that good stuff. Make sure that you have the paperwork to back it up so that should you go in front of the judge and the judge says, why did you spend $600 on getting the carpets cleaned? Well, Your Honor, here's what the carpets look like. And by cleaning them for $600, it increased the sale of the house by 20 grand. You know, those are just, you know, made up numbers, but you get my drift. But then also having that relationship with the attorney helps me understand what kind of estate they're dealing with. So whether they need a very detailed inventory, you know, where we're counting every fork and every knife, or, you know, do we need a more generalized inventory? Do we need specific values on specific items? So your average estate sale person shows up and says, I'm only conducting an estate sale. And I will give you an example. Let's say they go through the drawer and they find this little piece. I don't care what we call it, a brooch. Let's call it a brooch because this has happened to us. Finds this little brooch in the custom jewelry box, right?
Right.
Don't think much of it, puts it out on the table, sells it for a quarter, sells it for 50 cents. But because they don't have background in understanding how things can be valued or what could be valuable, they didn't take the time to research it. And so we had this little brooch, a nice little brooch, and it said, I forget what kind of organization it was, but it's from the 1800s. It was a society for wealthier women that were members who had to be invited. And when they were invited and were become a member, they wear this brooch, and the brooch has their state on it. So the state would say Maryland or Delaware or New York or whatever. And they even had, as it turns out, this organization has a museum in Washington.
Oh, yeah.
And so when we contacted them, they said, oh, no, that can't be one of ours. We've already accounted for all of them that say South Carolina. We know where those are. And I said, well, here's a picture. Lo and behold, this is one that they apparently wasn't that familiar with. And they gave a substantial dollar amount to the family for that brooch.
Wow.
And I will tell you it was 5 figures.
So, man, so I'm hearing a couple of things here, and it goes back to what you said earlier about, you know, realtors, and I think it applies to attorneys or even across any industry. When you have industries that are wide ranging, like a real estate professional or an attorney, making sure that you find, if people out there, we find someone who's like has expertise, has the experience in that specific niche or need that you have. Not all attorneys are the same. You don't want to, what they call them, the door law, where anyone comes to the door is going to, or even people who are perhaps they're focused on trust and they don't do, you know, probates or vice versa. So making sure that you find people who have the experience, have the time, have the knowledge, and have the deep connections is so important. And also another thing I'm hearing is that you seem really good, Phillip, being able to like see the big problem, big challenges as opportunities in connecting vendors to your to the needs of the client, I should say. But for someone who is new or starting out in the estate niche or the probate niche, or how would you recommend they gain as much experience as they can so they can position themselves to serve clients while also that, you know, learning at the same time?
So, and you, I assume you mean as a realtor.
Well, as a realtor, or as someone who's like a service provider. Yeah, realtor. I would say that.
So for realtors, I would say one of the best things they can do is understand the probate process in the county or area they serve. Mm-hmm. Understand that process. Go down and meet with the folks in the office. Right. It's at your county courthouse. Every courthouse has one. It might be conjunction with another department, but if you go in and ask for probate, they will point you the right direction. Find out who it is there that you need to talk to get their process. They don't give legal advice. They're not going to tell you, oh, you should do this or that. What they will tell you is their process. How is it handled? They will also tell you what attorneys in their area handle these cases. They're not going to tell you one or two. They have to give you a list. Or all of the attorneys. They have to say, here's all the attorneys that are approved to do these in our county. Kind of that sort of thing. And then take a box of donuts over to those attorneys.
Yes. Durham County. I've done that about 3 times so far. They love me in there. Like, absolutely. I'm actually interviewing the assistant clerk tomorrow. So donuts go a long way. I completely
And
agree.
they'll tell you what they can tell you. Understand there's rules to what they can tell you, but probate is the same for everybody in that county. Now, every county has little nuances about how they want paperwork, how they want this, how they want that, their timelines. There's some nuances there. Understanding those will make a huge help for a realtor. And when you're looking at the other parts of the service, that realtor for like for my service, I have my own in-house staff that I've trained over the last years to understand how this process works. So they know when I say I need it broom swept clean, they know that it's needs to be broom swept clean. It means nothing in the house. It means there's no paint in the closet. There's no boxes in the attic. There's no, nothing. Downsizing is a little different. My staff, when we get a new home, one of the first few questions I get asked is, are you the realtor? If I say no, here's the realtor's contact and information. My project manager reaches directly out to the realtor and says, hey, what should be left? Okay. What is your plan? What is your timeline? When do you want to have pictures? That sort of thing, and work with them to integrate it so it's seamless. That takes a lot of the work off the realtor, right? But it also helps the process along. And it makes it's not something we have to go back and try to fix later. Right. So if you're a realtor and you're looking to build that relationship, one of the best ways you can do it is by being able to tell your client, well, here's your timeline that you're going to have to face. And here's how probate works in this county or in this market. That I think that goes a long way to it. And then you need to have vendors that you can rely on. I do my own in-house because over time I found that it's tough to keep vendors engaged.
Like hauling and cleaning services and
right. Well, we have our box truck, we have our trailers, our crews go in and we literally process a home in usually 2 days. Right. Where we've gone through every box and every bag, and trust me when I tell you, we find whatever's there. Our record to date is 270,000 in cash. In a home, we have found.
Whoa, John, bro, I was about to ask some of the crazy stories. You found 275,000
siblings that they never knew they had, but turns out the brother that they never knew they had lived right down the street. They went to school together.
Sounds like my family back then. Complicated stories in that.
You'd be amazed. We contract with the executor, and in that contract, I tell them, look, there's things that we're going to find that you might not want to know about. And, we're going to tell, hey, we have information. Do you want to know or do you not want to know? We also have a privacy clause in our contract that says we don't divulge details about what we, deal with in your estate. That's an important part of it too. You got it. I mean, it's easy to tell stories if I'm leaving out names and cities, right? So that develops a relationship with the family. And then they come back over and over and over again. I've had gentlemen call me who I liquidated his mother's estate, and then 2 years later, when he passed, his son called me to liquidate his estate.
Oh man, so, is that where most of your work, marketing is coming from? Referrals now, or is it...
No? Most of mine are from distant relative executors. Wow. So, realtor calls me and says, "I've got a client who lives in Texas, and his mother passed away, and needs some help getting it liquidated." Gotcha. And then so we make conversation, and I'm a realtor, so we use the lockbox and can access the home and that sort of thing. Go over and take a look, put together a project, and basically they never have to return. Unless they just want to. I mean, that's they don't. We don't run them off. And then we also do the paperwork if they need it. For example, the will says Susie Q gets grandma's wedding gown. So we go in, we find the wedding gown, call up Susie Q. In the will says you get it. How do we get it to you? We're going to ship it to you. We're going to have you sign a document saying it was delivered to you, that sort of thing. Hand it to the executor. It's done. They don't have to worry about finding a post office or anything like that. So And then the items we sell, the buyers pay the shipping, that sort of thing. If there's any shipping or delivery fees or whatever, we often try to get everything sold and done before the final clean out. And then we have relationships with all of our donation centers. So when we call them and say, hey, can you pick up, they'll send a truck and we'll load it for them. So that's a big part of it. I mean, just going through all the stuff, figuring out what's there and what's valuable, what's not, what's, I think I mentioned earlier, a family who hadn't spoken to each other for like 25 years, all over a set of silverware that was supposedly stolen. The brother thought the sister stole it. He knew she stole it, and he was mad because she stole it, and they didn't talk together for 25 years. And we went in there, and lo and behold, we found the silverware set in the attic, wrapped up in grandma's.
Oh my gosh, 25 years over.
So I called him up. I said, you know that silverware you've been looking for all them years? Your sister didn't steal it. I got it.
My goodness, I bet he's gonna do it. What was his response?
Well, it was like, I mean, from what I could take of it, I think it just broke him. I mean, I really think it was.
Imagine that's just many years lost. Oh my gosh.
He had all those years of turmoil over this, and turns out it was just his mom's way, because she had early onset dementia before she died. It was her way of protecting that, thinking that she needed to hide it because she was afraid somebody was going to steal it.
Well, that's the thing about the work that you're involved in, or that we're involved in when it comes to estates. Well, one, I want to also just say real quick though, I love the advice you're giving to realtors or folks who are listening. You might be an investor, to just learn the process, learn your craft, get down there and make yourself. To be knowledgeable. Expertise is a process, so you have to continue to put yourself in situations to learn and find people who are doing it properly. And I hope you all hear some of these stories. Now, this last story, it seemed like almost an extreme case. Someone like 25 years hadn't spoke to a sister over some silverware that you were able to find because of your services. I'm sure there are other, like, maybe on the other extremes, where people are so happy and relieved that you're taking this burden off them. It sounds like you're even making realtors look good, because they're probably getting some of the social credit for a lot of the work it seems like you're doing, preparing the house, and all they have to do is go to their client who's probably or possibly, maybe I'm assuming, in an emotionally charged state at times. And
it's one of the most difficult things a person can do. Secondary to buying your home, being an executor, while it sounds on its face to be something fairly simple, it is an emotional roller coaster for whoever does it. I've had everybody from the son, the daughter, the cousin, I had one who was a great niece, and for some unknown reason was named preferred executor.
Wow.
And the lady was like, she said, I've been to her house like 3 times in my whole life. She said, I couldn't tell you what anything. I don't know. I don't know nothing about her, but it was a great aunt that, named her as a preferred executor. And so she was in a panic, and I'm like, well, that's kind of why we're here to help you, is, we can handle the formalities of the probate. And then she was able to focus her time with family, understanding the dynamics of the family instead of boxing stuff up, And then, I mentioned the story about finding a sibling. That family eventually opted to learn the information we had. We told them about this half brother that lived right down the street, it turned out. And for a couple of years there, they got together at Christmas. They're now family that they never knew they had. Unfortunately, the lady that had actually hired us, she passed away. Okay. Before she passed away, she got the opportunity to learn about this half brother. She never understood that, but it takes the burden of the physical part of it off, I guess, who's going to be there to box this stuff up. Can you take a month off to come down and clean out a house and get, this vendor, that sort of thing? And that's what void we're hoping to fill.
Well, I hear the folks that you serve. If like people are who are the ideal? It sounds like you're serving, I know you said out of state executors and all, but if people want to give you referrals, who are like the ideal type of folks who should be like picking up the phone and giving your service a call if they hear this, or if they want to, you know,
any estate. I can help with any estate, whatever. It can be a downsizing. It's just husband and wife, and they've decided, hey, we're going to move to a condo at the beach.
Right. Okay.
We don't have minimums. So if you said, hey, you know what, I'm taking 3/4 of the stuff in the house, I want you to sell the rest. We can do that too. It doesn't have to be a deceased estate. It can be a living estate.
Okay.
You know, there's all kinds of variables. Our goal is to make that transition, just like in your title, life in transition, smoother. And that's the whole process. And we can do it usually, and I say usually, doesn't happen every time, but most of the time our fees and cost are less than they would have had they done it directly. Right. Even though, and the reason we do that is because we're selling those items at a higher price point. And so most every client we have gets a check at the end of our process. And most of the time we do not have to have any deposits or anything like that. Now, we do hoarder houses. So, you know, if it's a hoarder house, and I've got, and last one we had, I think we ended up with 14 dumpsters. That was, and it took us like 6 months. Yeah, those kind of projects we do. But here's the thing. They had been given an offer on the home by an investor for like 50 grand. The investor was going to come in and bulldoze the whole thing, throw it all in the dumpsters. And when we got the house empty, turns out there was not a whole bunch bad to the house itself. Once it was empty with some remediation and different things, we were able to put that house on the market, and it sold and closed at 279, I think.
Wow, look at that.
And so
20 difference.
Yeah, and that was with very minimal remediation. And we didn't do a whole bunch other than get it cleaned out.
Yeah.
But you don't know until you get it cleaned out, right? And then also in that process, we found a lot of things that the family said they thought were lost forever.
Yeah.
You know, different, you know, documents and papers and, you know, military records and stuff like that. So it's well worth the time. We do free consults. It's well worth the time to have us come out and let us tell you how we can help. What kind of project, what we think can happen with this. And you know, we build the project around what it is your ultimate goal is. So
well, I appreciate you. I'm not going to hold you too much, but I do have a couple more questions, because I mean, so I'll just straight up ask, what are some of your favorite parts of the job? Because you can tell that you are, you know, you're knowledgeable and you're passionate about it, and some of these stories about connecting.
The first day of purge.
Why is that?
Because that's when you find all the treasures.
Oh man,
it's a treasure hunt. And when you take
that's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like. I'm sorry. I was a big, I love flea markets. I love antique. I love, not avoid, but I just love, even when I was in sales, knocking on doors, just seeing how different people live. So I can imagine. Yeah. So yeah, the purge.
Oh yeah, well, purge is kind of it's what we're doing. We're basically purging the place. We go in with trash bags. We walk in. We'll put one person in a room, and they'll go through that room. They're going to open every drawer, every box, every bag, and look in every pocket and every thing, and figure out what's in here that's just trash. If it's just trash, we put in a trash bag and it's going out. Right. The rest we're going to look at. Is it valuable? Is it something the family might want? Is it something the family didn't even know we needed or was here? Most executors give us a list. Hey, we've been looking for this item or that item. If you find this or you find that, I want it, that sort of thing. You know, the childhood nativity scene that they grew up with. You know, if you find that, you know, so and then we start that process. We're staging things up and we're taking pictures. Hey, here's a, you know, king size bed with, you know, 2 nightstands and a dresser and all that. We're posting it. We're getting it out there. Hey, this is for sale. That turns a weekend estate sale into a 2 to 3 week online sale. On top of that,
yeah.
And so yeah, the first day, I remember one of our staffers was first day on the job with us, and we were going through trying to teach how to do things. And there was, if you ever remember, the Sunbeam electric blanket box, this red and white box that's about this big. It has an electric blanket in it, right? I think every house in America had one in the 70s. And this thing is in the closet. It's on the top shelf in the back. The blanket is in it. It's not the cleanest, it's been there a long time. So we pull it out and it's covered with dust. And the employee says, yeah, and he opens it and he looks in it. It's a blanket. He puts it down. He says, yeah, it's an electric blanket. Probably doesn't work. It would probably be a fire hazard at this point because it's dirty. I said, but did you empty the box? Did you look in the box? Well, yeah, I looked in the box. I said, but did you take the blanket out? We took the blanket out. There's $5,000 in cash.
Wow.
But if he had just thrown that in the trash bin,
oh my goodness.
Because you never know where people gonna hide money. People hide money in the weirdest places.
My goodness, man. People are just human beings. We are so fascinating, and the stuff that we collect and gather.
So the first day of that is usually the most exciting for me personally, because like I said, it's a treasure hunt. I love being able to call the family and say, we found that piece of jewelry you're looking for. We found this. We found, and I have people go, what? You kidding? I've had people tell me, oh, there's not a single firearm in that house. My parents would have never owned a gun. We pulled 9 out of that house. They were hidden in the walls.
A lot of stories about,
So, you just never know. And that's part of the fun of it. That's part of the fun part of the job. And then the satisfaction of having helped the family through it, especially when you have feuding family members and you're able to help bring them together over, you'd be amazed at what families can get torn up about, and just being able to walk both of them through that and get them. They literally had a box of stuff that one wanted and the other didn't want the other one to have, that sort of thing, and was able to walk them through that and help them get past that to making to getting a settlement to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Instead of them ending up even further apart, helping, because I'm trying to be that intermediary. I'm like, I know I've had to tell families, I know you don't understand why we're doing it this way, but this is the way we have to do it. And it's a little easier for some of them to understand that when it's a third party, not the executive.
I mean, you almost can't even put a number of value on that peace of mind that you're giving folks, and just that not lubricant, but that really that intermediary, exactly what the word means. I wonder though, like with COVID, you already said, or with the pandemic, you already said there was adjustments that you made, and since the new normal has been here for a long time, what are some, I guess, trends or things that you're seeing that you've kept with you that you had to adjust with during COVID that you're going to keep? Or what are some things that you're like, I'm glad I'm back at this as you move forward in 2023?
Just that, the rules for sales have changed some. Gatherings of any sort. Luckily for estate sales, because we do so much of ours online, like I said, we don't limit it just that one day or 2-day sale. Those happen, and we do a public sale on just about every one. But a lot of the times there have been occasions where we put stuff online and we're able to sell it all online, and it didn't make sense to do a public sale with what was left, simply because you wouldn't have generated enough funds to cover the cost of the sale. So there's those things. People are more apt to buy things online now. They using Facebook, for example, Facebook Marketplace. Tons of stuff.
Absolutely. It's a dangerous place, man. And a bunch of
and
the balls I don't need and stuff.
Right. I mean, I have people coming from Raleigh tomorrow to buy 3 pieces of furniture from my store, because we do have a storefront,
cool.
retail store that we've taken some of the better pieces that did not sell at that time, and brought them in. We've done some liquidations for folks where we couldn't do a sale at the home. For different reasons, and so we have those items in our store. We post them on Facebook, we post them on eBay, that sort of thing. And I mean, every day I've got an order for this, or I want to buy that. We also deliver within reason. And so we're trying to continue to build that up. So that's one of the biggest things. All of that turns a 2 or 3 day estate sale into a 2 to 3 week sale. And it increases the overall returns because it's exposing it to more people. So our average sale gets about 12,000 views from all of our marketing and all of our methods of marketing that sale, just for that one sale. So, if it's going to sell, it's pretty good chance that it's going to get the exposure it needs.
Oh, very. So using the tools like people being more comfortable online, is Facebook Marketplace the main place, or do you have your own portal, or are things working concurrently?
Yeah. So up until recently, we were trying to utilize Shopify because Shopify would put the item in and would put it in multiple markets. They don't do that anymore. And so we've had to readjust that some because of those changes. So we're on eBay, we're on Facebook Marketplace. We have a Facebook page, which we really encourage folks to follow, King's Estate Services, because when we get a new home, we put a whole roll of pictures up of everything in the home. And so you can literally sit there and scroll through the pictures.
I was looking today. Yeah.
Oh, there's that lamp I've been wanting since 1973. Message us, hey, the lamp in picture number 8. Can I buy that? Yeah, you can buy it. $50 and give us your shipping address. We can send you an invoice. You can, PayPal us, Venmo us, all that good stuff. We process it, put it in the mail, ship it to you. And then those funds go into that account for that client. That's the biggest, I guess, one of the biggest changes since COVID, because before COVID, we just did the 3 day sale. We didn't really do a lot of online because nobody was buying online. Right. But now our market has changed that. So
that's pretty awesome then. And I one of my favorite things to do as growing up was going to yard sales with my mom too. I can imagine being able to see it just from the finger, just clicking from the finger makes things a lot smoother for some folks. And like you said, more eyes, more exposure. That's better for the family, better for the estate.
Most of the things we sell are not the item, it's the memory of that item.
Wow.
So if you're sitting at home, think about this. Yeah. You're sitting at home, you're looking through your pictures, and all of a sudden you find that G.I. Joe lunchbox that you had in 1974. And here's the exact duplicate of it.
Oh man. Oh, yo, I love
shipping.
Exactly. You're thinking about those memories.
Right. At an estate sale, it might have been 50 cents. It might have ended up in the trash, because, it just didn't get the exposure.
So that's a huge difference when someone's coming to you as opposed to going to like a routine estate sales. That's so, because as human beings, we make meaning. And I've heard that from some, sales training and spaces of folks that I've really resonated with, that you're not selling really the benefits of your service, whatever it is, you're selling what that means to them. What does this mean to them? The peace of mind, the comfort, the memory of G.I. Joes and Transformers and Snicker bars, those warm things. So those are the things that that can only happen if you are coming from the service mindset. You're not coming from, let me buy your house, let me borrow your stuff. You have to be able to listen. You have to be able to connect with folks. And you seem like the epitome of that, Phil. I'm so glad that you're so generous with your time, gave me an hour of your time to be able to chat and learn more about it.
I would like to tell you one more thing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
We're growing and we're looking for new markets. We feel like there's a pretty good program that can be duplicated in just about every market out there. There's a certain way to do it. And there's a certain way that it can be accomplished. We are looking to partner with realtors in those markets that we can help them build something like we have and then share it with us. So our vision is that if we brand this, and let's say King's Estates Services let's just use Atlanta, Georgia. So I have an agent in Atlanta, Georgia, who's doing kind of the same thing we're doing, but they're using our same platform. So the items they have are going into the same eBay accounts and the same Shopify accounts. And now we're exposing these items even further, that sort of thing. So if you're a realtor and you have an interest, reach out. We'd love to talk to you about it. We have a couple that are in process right now in certain markets, but this can be done in any market.
So And I imagine there's training and support that comes along. If you're a realtor or an investor or someone out there and you're not familiar with the space, would your team be able to support them and directing them to be able to, because if the better they can be, the better, it's going to serve you as well and everyone involved. So I imagine so where can people find you? That was my next question, because we'll drop it in the show notes, all that good stuff.
Facebook, King's Estate Services. My company is King's Estates and Realty LLC, and I'm brokered by EXP. I have to give that. They're aligned, but they are separate business lines. EXP doesn't have any part of the estate piece. That's my broker. 704-309-9279 is my cell number. You can call me anytime. Well, I prefer you text me because I get a lot of calls.
704, can you say that again?
704-309-9279. King's Estate Services on Facebook. You can message the page. You just send a direct message to me on there. You can send it to the page. I get them all the time. I got 4 right now.
Hey, super responsive. I tell you, I know from experience, folks.
And it's not a big investment. It's especially if you have the desire to do this kind of work, and you might already have parts and pieces of it already. I had one who is bringing online right now. She has 3 teenage sons, and she utilizes them for labor. Pays them some hourly rate to help her with organizing the house and that sort of thing. She's providing that service, and it's a value-added service to your real estate business that increases your bottom line. And like I said, I protect brokers. So if a broker calls me about a property that they are wanting to get a listing on, even if they don't have a listing yet, I will go with them to the listing presentation and tell them about my services and help them close that deal.
Oh, wow.
And the reason I say that is because the first thing I tell my client, if you have a realtor and I'm not your realtor, don't talk to me about the real estate business. Right. Don't tell me about what you're doing on the real estate side. Let me get that information from your realtor. The reason for it is because then I can bring a buyer. If I stay clean of the information and I'm not a seller sub-agent by being given information I shouldn't, then I can bring a buyer. Or one of my other agents. I have 2 other agents that I have been bringing along. They can bring a buyer. And so there's nothing better, and especially in our market that we had last year, to know that there's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,000 square foot home coming available in that neighborhood in 3 months.
Yes. And just imagine
my buyers, hey, if you're needing a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, oh yeah, can you wait a month? I got the perfect one.
Yeah.
Ready for a month.
I'm definitely going to stay connected offline so we can continue to chat, because hey, the Triangle area, I'm not sure what that looks like for you, but definitely would love to talk to you more about that. And it's just an exciting time because a lot of people are concerned about the market, and from my humble understanding, there's always going to be real estate, but the way you're going to be able to differentiate yourself is one going into the niche, but also really having value that you're able to lead with. And so what I'm hearing you say, Phil, is having this type under your tool belt is going to differentiate yourself during
Charlotte market has 600 plus properties per month in probate. Every one of those are potential clients for me or realtors. So
interest rate up, interest rate down. People are always going to pass away. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people who pass away without the legal remedies that's going to protect their assets and not have to go through probate. So we might as well be able to be here and serve those folks. And then, hey, we can help the family. That's a great referral to, a state attorney down the road. But
I think our record for transactions off a single estate was 7.
Wow.
So the estate home, I was a listing agent. A customer came into the sale and decided to buy the property. So she went with no representation. If I remember correctly, she had us write the offer as unrepresented buyer. And then because she was buying this house, she wanted us to sell her house. and she wanted us to sell her parents' house because she was moving them in with them. And then because of the relationship, I ended up with, I think, three other properties to sell from her family. So I think our record is 7 pieces of real estate transaction based off the one encounter with the estate. So,
so folks, it is a niche that is just waiting to be served. And Phil, oh my gosh, King's Estates, go check him out on Facebook. Check him out. You got his phone number 704-309-9279. And as you said, you're thinking about this nationwide. So wherever you listen to this, you could still reach out, even if you're not in the Charlotte, Mecklenburg area, right?
Yes. Any market in the United States is game for this. I'm not well versed in probate in foreign countries. I think it's probably a lot different, but I mean, if you know your probate there and you want to try to do service like this, the service part is what I'm talking about. Real estate's real estate, right? You got to be able to blend it, but I can teach that part. The goal there is to make a network, because that gives you the exposure you need. I'd love to be able to tell my clients, hey, we have a network of agents across the country. So if you're here and you need the services in Dallas, because right now I got people in Dallas who needs a service here. Okay. You know what I'm saying? And so that's great. But then I have people here that needs this service there, and there isn't a vendor like that. And so there's the challenge.
I can see the vision. I can see the vision there. So as we head out, though, what's one thing that you may give folks that could be like a tip for being able to succeed and survive in this space, or thrive, I should say, in this space?
Quit making real estate about property and make it about people.
Ding, 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 ding.
This process, this portion of real estate is about the people. As property is secondary, it's about the people. It's about helping families through what's one of the toughest things they do.
Absolutely.
They say buying your first home is your biggest investment. Well, deal with one of these, and I'm going to tell you that kind of changes your outlook on it. So, absolutely. And I think any executor will tell you that dealing with an estate, especially the larger they are, the more entailed they are, the harder they are, the more stressful they are. So anything that you can do to help that executor get through it is a plus, and it will build you a relationship that, I mean, it's not the typical realtor relationship. So
build your people skills, being a good quality person, integrity, clarity, competence. Oh man. So those are all things like Jim Rohn, you never rise to the level of your goals. You always fall to the level of your system. So being able to be that person or be that thing, or the other quote that he says, the great thing about your goals is not reaching them necessarily, but the person you become to reach them. So to be able to be a people person and to serve with that type of heart, that type of mentality, says a lot and speaks a lot. So I really appreciate it. It's been great getting to know you and learning more about your services. And I look forward to continue to connect with you outside of this as well.
I look forward to it as well.
Absolutely. Folks, if you are listening to this on the podcast or wherever you're listening, I would love for you to hit the review. Give me an honest review. Would love a 5-star, but an honest review is great. It helps us reach more people. This is the Life in Transitions Expert Podcast. We're here helping folks who are dedicated to help people through those big transitions in their life, prepare for them, and to navigate them smoothly. If you are one of those professionals, maybe you're an estate or attorney or a estate professional, I would love to sit down and work with you as well and learn more about you. Helps me be a better person. I've learned several things today that I'm like, I can't wait to get off the phone and keep you on my calendar so we can learn and grow and be a part of each other's journey. So if you're one of those folks, definitely reach out. We'd love to chat with you and see if we can get you on this show. Other than that, folks, as I always say, rising tides, it lifts all sails. Yeah.